Good morning. My voice is a little hoarse from singing Sweet Caroline too loud last night, so pardon that. But this is my talk about how to scale dbt teams and even in a multi-cloud environment and the impact it brought to our business. So a little bit about the agenda. We're going to have a quick intro, tell you about me, about PMG and Alley, our marketing intelligence platform that we're building. The early days of dbt at the company, what caused the turning point to switch from a core to using the platform that we know and love today, how it's actually impacted our business, what are our learnings and our next steps, and then I'll open it up for questions for everybody else. So a little about me. I'm Frazier. I'm the Senior Director of Data Engineering at PMG. I've been at PMG for 6 years. 6 years? No, 7 years. Can't keep track. And when I started at PMG, the data foundation across all of our customers was very messy, very fragmented, very siloed. And so my team's responsibility, and when I say my team, I meant mine, was to figure out a common nomenclature of language that all of our customers could share across it so we could share knowledge, share insights, share actions back for our customers. And that's when we started. We've always been building Alley, but Alley became the main thing. So before we get into Alley, I'll tell you a little bit more about PMG in general. We're a marketing and technology company based in DFW, and we have over 1,000 employees. We have locations across the globe. We've done some significant acquisitions to get into the EMEA space recently, and we're Ad Age, 10 times best place to work. We've been a media plan for Adweek, and the most recent one that we're super proud of is that we were a finalist in one of the Innovation for AI Awards within SmartBrief. So even though we're a marketing company, we're not a traditional marketing company. The entire operating system behind it is Alley. So Alley is a secure platform that takes our marketing data and supercharges decisions across it with AI. There's 3 main pillars of Alley. You get the data component. We all know data, right? We kind of can go it. Everybody transforms it, models it, does it out within the warehouse. The cool thing about Alley, it's multi-cloud by default. It helps drive impact, cut inefficiencies, and then it helps give those actions and those insights back into the platforms and into our customers' hands so that they can make the best decision. What you're seeing here is a screenshot from our creative feed. So we've taken all the creatives from all the advertisements, throw them through AI vision models, and figure out how to scale creative across the agency. It's really, really exciting for all the things that we can do now that is supercharged, especially in the generative AI space. But none of this works. None of it works without the data. And so when you normally think about data and ETL processes, you kind of think about, oh, I have my ingesters, my transformers, it's all going to run in the warehouse. But Alley is actually a little bit more than that. It's a lot more complicated. We do have our own ingesters that we write in-house for it. It brings it all into Alley. Alley is the data owner. It's siloed. It's secure for all of our customers. You can grab insights from wherever you want. You can ship the data to wherever you want. You can do anything that you want with the data, all within the platform itself. It is really designed to help fill the gaps of a lot of the native tools that we see it, and then build on from there into what we can provide for the customers to make the best decision and make them faster. So that was a little bit about the PMG and Alley, and now let's go to the early days. So again, 7 years ago, when I started, dbt wasn't even at a 1.0. I think it was still a baby toddler crawling around it, and we had some serious problems in the business around our sides. We had these are the 4 main challenges we had as a business team and as a technology team at the time. We were having customers that required us to use different database technologies. We had scaling issues for new data features around it. Every single one of our customers, their data stack was unique, and there was no standard around them. We really had to morph the way that we worked around the customer's intuitiveness. And automation is always a struggle. Without one solid foundation that you can build automation off of, it is very fragmented, and you can't transfer the learnings from one customer to another. So this is where one day I decided to listen to a podcast called Data Engineering Podcast, and I think Drew was on it, and he was talking about dbt. And I was like, this is interesting. We're in multi-clouds. We were in BigQuery and Redshift at the time. And I was writing SQL for both as a team of 3, trying to also onboard new junior engineers. And so when I posed this proposition to try to figure out how dbt could be used at the company, I was like, first off, how does it win? So what are we going to look for in a new technology or a new language to use versus just SQL? What was wrong with just SQL? So could it simplify the development process? Could I easily onboard early careers engineer? This was back, PMG was also a very young company. We had a lot of new technologies, not a lot of like data people around it. So all of our early careers engineers were very new to how to write, and there's no stored procedures, anything like that. And can I figure out where something broke fast and fix it? As a team of 3, if I can help identify things, and as we learned yesterday, we always just got to check the logs, but if that is the thing, can I build in this quality testing around it? And so that's what we looked for. So we did a pilot. We took one of our data pipelines. We took, I think, one of our most complicated ones was figuring out how keyword matching and doing keyword rates for it, and we built some testing around it, and we turned it into dbt. So this is a DAG that's currently within the Alley platform. So one of the awesome things is Alley's dbt and Alley are also like embedded a little bit. So we have the open source docs generate inside here using all the manifests and other documentation pieces of it. And so the initial early win, it only took 3 weeks to migrate a pipeline for a team of 3 who've never used new technology before. Super exciting. And the next iteration of it was like, all right, we did keyword. Now what about search term? How did that take? So it sped up the dev time by 2x, because I could just write the code once, ship it anywhere. And I was easily able to migrate a pipeline that was super struggle when BigQuery didn't even have standard SQL yet over across it. So we had a huge success with core. We still have a huge success with core today. Our one project that we have has thousands of models, thousands of tests, mock data seeds all over the place. But there was a struggle. Getting new people into dbt was hard because of the complexity that we built up over time. So we did have another, with one of a new team who's joining, they were onboarding into the dbt platform at the time. And so was there now a new turning point of how we could go from just core to the platform itself, and what will it unlock? So again, what was wrong with core? Really, it was nothing, except for onboarding new analysts was time consuming. Analysts don't really understand why you have to upgrade a Python version, or why do I have to go from dbt 0.17 to 0.19 to 1.0, et cetera. And that was very time consuming for our senior engineers or our data engineers on the time, and like helping people debug their Python runtime environments. As you can see, if you're constantly debugging through Python issues, development time started to get sluggish. It's slowly increasing over time because of how you get onboarding and doing and other things. And with the sluggishness and the cycle time starting to slow down, best practices started to slip. So a lot of the teams that we saw when we started democratizing dbt core across it, they would get the job done for what they needed to get done, and some of the best practices started slipping, and it was very hard to initiate that and scale the best practices across the org because of how core is very much a engineer first practice. So could the platform solve this? So everything you have to do when you want to build the new tech, you got to build a business case, but we really did it on 2 fronts. We build it on a strategic front. What does the platform give us that we don't have today, or that we would have to build to unlock today? And then what is the technical things that will make our engineers, our analytics engineers, way more efficient and be able to scale the amount of people that can work in the data space? So on the strategic front, we really focused on data trust. We focused on governance with speed. Reduce cost. That is not like the typical reduce cost of like, let me get my warehouse compute cost down. It was more like, can I reduce the cost of onboarding a new customer by getting their data time faster? Like speed to insight is a huge unlock from an organization. And can one person work on more customers if they're using a platform available within that? From the technical side, IDEs. People were writing data DBT inside of data grip, and so like, could we give a better developer experience from the technical side? Is there other capabilities? What does the Discovery API enable us to unlock from a metadata perspective? And will there become an opportunity within DBT Mesh as we scale projects by customer and be able to cross-use things around it? So after that, we built a business case, we worked with the teams, and we started an implementation strategy. So it all went great, but we had basically 3 phases to a full implementation of the DBT platform itself. We started with an alpha. You always got to start somewhere, something small, something easy, so that the senior engineers, some that are in this room today, could learn the platform themselves and then help around it. Then we started anything new. Don't go to core, go to platform, see what stuff you run into, and this is how you can kind of go from there. Then we adopted the train the trainers model. We don't like to have large training sessions where everybody has to join at one time. So we democratized, we chose 7 people who were very gung-ho around it. They got initially trained through the DBT training fundamentals programs, and they were able to take the knowledge they learned and go to train the rest of the analytics and engineering organization. And then we built out a phased project migration based on customer success to make sure there's no, when you're changing the back end of how the orchestration of something runs, the customer sees no direct impact out of it. So we had to do it in a way that we should make sure that we weren't messing with any like proper sales or phase migration or anything like that. And then at the end, it was fully migrated. So this whole entire process what took around 6 to 8 months in order to complete. With the migration to phase migration part was probably the first 2 months of it to make sure that we had everything good and all of our documentation internally of how to go from core to cloud around it. So when we did this, what did we think it solved? What did the platform solve? Our improved customer experience. And when I say customer, I mean like the end user of the Alley product. They were able to have more reliable data, be able to get automated alerts, set up automated reports, delivered to them direct from Alley. Our engineers were also more successful. They could now have an improved, they got the IDE, that's now Studio experience, and they didn't no longer had to figure out how to commit to GitHub. And then from a team ops perspective, because we work in a very customer data team focused areas, sometimes you have to bounce between customer teams and understand how things, so team ops was a lot easier because everybody could go to one spot and you can look, and I can go to catalog, I can go into Studio, I can do all that in one location. I don't have to worry about downloading hundreds and hundreds of GitHub repos if I'm bouncing around customers on my support team. So at 1, we're here. We're still using platform today, and it's a highly success. Now, the actual business impact is really hard, right? There's a talk yesterday with Hex of how do you measure ROI on data teams, and basically it's like you don't. You need to figure out how the data team provides impact to the rest of the organization. They're the glue. We're the plumbers. It's not fun. But you do see some true business impact when you come to clean contextualized data. With that, we have 100 projects, over 100 projects now, one for every one of our customers. And throughout the years, we've had over 100 analysts onboarded, offboarded for it. And the biggest thing is speed to insight and what it really unlocked. We can onboard a net new customer's data set, and when they launch a new campaign or they launch a new product, we can get that data into the platform all the way through the rest of the stack in less than a day. So because of all the templating and other pieces of DBT that allows around it, and how we've scaled and how we've built it out the way our repos are. So this is when we kind of go into our exploration tools within Alley. Internal users, we've only seen a 9% uptake on getting all of our data sets around it, and which is great. They have internal other dashboards they use. A lot of them use Google Sheets that gets exported from Alley that uses it, but this is just straight into data exploration. Can I solve that ad hoc customer question at the same minute? However, this is the number we were really excited about. This 250x increase in data exploration from non-PMG users. So that is our direct customers logging into our platform, answering their own questions. They have full access to the metadata layer through the discovery APIs. They have full access to make sure that it's clean. They know it's contextualized. They know it matches their business rules. And that is huge. The more customers we can get into the platform to discover for themselves, we reduce the daisy chain of ask the question, ask the data team. And so speed to insight is really, really, really exciting. So, also huge impacts internally. dbt platform is massive. Everybody who uses it on the regular loves it. It has standardized and simplified our onboarding workflow. It has super awesome infrastructure as code tools that are constantly being worked on and developed that we've integrated so that when we do onboard new customers, they automatically get new projects, they automatically get new repos, they get it templatized from our standard, and then it's just click, 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 fill in customer-specific stuff, and then you can move on. The dbt catalog and cross-team support has been super critical. At least I know for me and some of the other people who are not in it day to day, when we have a question about how something is built, we can go find the answer ourselves versus ask the data team. Speed to insight. And all of the new development enhancements that they've built into Studio has just been a huge game changer. The Copilot feature to automate the YAML development. No longer are we just enter, tab, 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 enter, tab, 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 enter. And just all of the other things around it is just super exciting. And the majority of our new analysts that come on board who are working in platform, they've never used GitHub before. And so the straight Git flows around it is made so easy for them to onboard and go across and scale their workloads. And going from being able to support maybe 1 or 2 customers, and now they can support 4 to 5, depending on the complexity of the customer. So what's next? You guys have heard it here. What's next? What is everybody excited about right now? Anybody? What's everybody excited about? If you're excited about dbt Fusion, raise your hand. Okay. Are you excited about the MCP server and other AI-based features? Raise your hand. Okay. Cool. So we're excited about all of it too, right? We've heard it all week here, starting on Tuesday, starting on Monday even when we got the lovely news. And AI semantic layer, match made in heaven, right? So we have a pilot. We're doing this today on a few customers and rolling it out, seeing if we can get our generative insights like Query Builder, better information and metadata across it and not have to pre-can reports, right? So we used to come to the world where I built this table or this view for this purpose. Oh, you have a new purpose? Okay, let me go build a new table or a view. And so semantic layer and AI reduces all of that. Natural language, nobody wants to write, I don't want to say SQL anymore, but everybody just wants to ask the question in natural language and the data to respond. So we are totally working to that. We have pilots today within both using dbt platform and inside of Alley directly around using the various different semantic layer features. The dbt Fusion is state-aware orchestration. Right now, if state-aware orchestration is thing, great. This is the engineer's dream, right? How many times have you had to rerun a pipeline and it just starts from the beginning and it failed on model XYZ, and you're like, oh, I have to run 300 models again? But this takes it to that next level where we can truly just oh, the data tables didn't change and I rerun hourly. Now I can just only run the models where the data is actually changed, which is going to be a huge win for both of our customers and getting runtimes speed when we backfill data sets. If they launch a new campaign midday, we load the data. We only run the models of the stuff that they loaded because they only launched that campaign on one single platform. We don't need to reload all 17 platforms that they're running on. And we're really excited about building native features inside of Alley using features of the Discovery API. And a lot of it is around transparency and trust. Transparency and trust are the most talked about things around data, how do I know this answer's right if I get it from an LLM? And if I can then take, hey, where did that data come from? How was it sourced? Was it transformed? Was it renamed? All of those different features of the Discovery API that you can get today, how do you make that in a way that users can actually figure out on how they kind of go from there? To be able to answer their own questions, speed to insight. So that's pretty much all I have today around it. Feel free, you can ask questions around it. This is a QR code that links to my LinkedIn if you want to reach out. for anything. And the Slack channel that's in Coalesce, that one did not get updated. So if you have any, we can continue the comment there around it. So. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you for the talk. And how many dbt users you have in dbt Cloud currently?
We have around, I think our current thing right now is around 85 developers and around 30 that have read access.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And follow-up question, do you have any code quality controls in CI
We do.
apart from the dbt Cloud build?
We do. So we do have the Slim CI, the continuous integration jobs turned on for every one of our customers' projects, and that really ensures that all of our customers, when they are making data, because the data that gets transformed throughout these processes, they affect the entire Alley platform. So we have to be we do not want to ship a Cartesian join. We don't want to ship XYZ. So we've built in these dedicated CI checks, as well as did some homegrown like pre-commits to make sure that the metadata matches that we're expecting for the platform to also use. So we parse through the YAMLs like, oh, you're missing a definition here on this column that's exposed to the platform, to the Alley platform. So you need to go fix that before it even gets merged.
Thank you. And the last question. Have you used some AI coding agents or assistants for dbt development?
Not directly. I know the teams are currently exploring different things. A lot of them use our enterprise license with ChatGPT, and they just kind of go back and forth, or throughout Gemini with our workspace login.
Okay, thank you.
That's a question right here.
Are you reusing any code or processes every time you implement a new customer? If so, can you talk about how you're reusing stuff?
Yeah, so we have one project that's like we have a bunch of different internal dbt packages that get invoked and enabled depending on the platforms that customers run on. That is all reusable code. It's all macro, Jinja, dbt adapter based to run across any of the warehouses. So when the customer says, oh, we're on Snowflake, can we put the data on Snowflake so we can easily data share? It's like, yes, and so we turn on the different platforms through some variables within the dbt vars, and then it enables and disables models accordingly around it. But all of that is that, and we also have for our more customer-focused projects, we have a template that gets cloned when the project gets created. So when the enablement runs, the project gets cloned because it's a template, and it creates the customer-specific one, and then the customization can happen there.
Cool, thanks.
I know you've onboarded like over 100 analysts over a period of time, right? And is it especially after the cloud migration or before the cloud?
Can you
Like how many analysts do you have before cloud versus after cloud? I believe after cloud is 100.
Yeah, so but when we were just on core, we had about 50. And as the business has grown, we've needed more analysts. So it's not just it's a growth on the business side as well as the number of analysts, but the amount of work that an analyst can do in a day is significantly increased with the platform itself.
Yeah. What kind of process do you have in place to ensure that you have, your review process is going on good with?
So that all gets set up at repo creation time. It's all based on a template. Okay. So when I create a new template, create a new repo, it has all the rules, it has the branches, it needs to pass these CI checks. We use GitHub Actions to automate all of the workflows. That is all auto built into the repo template process. So whenever it gets cloned and created, it's all set up for the analyst. All the analyst really has to do is focus on the customer and provide the best customer value. On the technology side, we've done that on our centralized DE and DevOps teams.
Good. Thank you.
Hi. You had up on the business case slide on the technical section, dbt mesh is an opportunity.
Yep.
I'm curious if you went ahead with that and if there were pros and cons to that, or why you decided to or not.
Yeah, so I think it's still an opportunity. I think it's a lot of the times it's hard to figure out where mesh comes into play in a customer-centric environment. So if we have a mesh opportunity because also the data is stored depending on a customer in various different locations, mesh is a little bit harder in that. And so the cross-platform mesh, all of that different architecture, all of that requires a lot different architecture underpinnings on how data gets ingested and stored than is there. But the opportunity as always presents itself, and we can easily turn it on. I say that we kind of have a mesh architecture for how we developed our core main package, with other package being derived into the main package, and then things get enabled and disabled through variable injection. So that is just one of the pieces that we've had around it, and it's still an opportunity if we get to that point. I got 2 questions back here.
Yeah, in terms of code quality, you kind of spoke to this. Is that really enforced just by kind of your templating process, and then they're working within a fairly defined template, or do you have other ways of kind of ensuring that they're creating models and kind of to best practices?
So best practice and model creation, we don't really handle that. They create the way that we have structured our projects is the way that makes the easiest sense for how media is run inside of it. So the standard dbt standards, they apply to an extent, but we've kind of adopted our own version. And so all of that is part of the onboarding thing, and this is where it's all documented in through the YAMLs, this is where these files go, this is where these files go. And then the teams work within there and have autonomy around it at the customer group level, because that way it's very much a democratized way of developing versus it having to always go through a central team for review and approval.
Hey, you mentioned that you are cross-cloud, so I'm a little curious about that. And you mentioned you were using BigQuery before Standard SQL came out. I actually feel your pain there. I used legacy SQL back in the day. So yeah, a lot of empathy there. So I'm curious, with your pipelines, are you pushing and pulling across GCP and AWS, or do you typically keep the workflow siloed in either one cloud or the other, depending on the customer?
The pipelines load, so the way that the data warehouses get enabled within the Alley technology is through, honestly, checkboxes. And so if that environment is enabled within the platform, the pipelines will push the data to that environment around it, versus it being something that has to be set up manually. So it's all done through configuration. So the same pipeline runs and ships the data everywhere. We don't have to change the way that the pipelines are scheduled or run around it. It's just the delivery mechanism is there. So it all gets stored inside of an S3 bucket and then gets shipped to wherever it needs to go, pretty much.
Okay, and then one more follow-up question. When you were creating the business case to move from core to the SaaS offering, did you have any friction with your InfoSec on who owns the control plane versus the data plane? Because I find that as a common issue that comes up whenever organizations want to move to a SaaS product, and they have to basically hand over some of the control of the way their data is accessed to the SaaS provider.
No.
Oh, okay.
No. We went through the required security for our organization, and it all passed.
Okay, thank you.
You mentioned you have 85 developers and 30 read-only users. That's a lot. I would say in a given month, how many modifications you have to make to the existing model, and also how many new models you have to add based on the business, the user requirement, and how do you manage it?
Each customer is unique in that manner. Some have more frequent updates than others. Some of our larger customers, they want a more regular released cadence of their data products that gets powered for things. But we run and make modifications across probably, 80 projects in a given month, 80 plus in a given month. And then new model creation is probably around, every day for some of it. Either that or modifications to existing models for new business rules or new logic that gets put in for new campaigns that run across the teams. But we run through it. It's probably close to it's hundreds of thousand models that get executed a day across all of our customers.
Okay. And you're able to manage it. It sounds like quite a bit to handle.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
I got time for one more. If anybody else has anything.
Yeah, so you mentioned you have multiple DBT projects. I'm curious, how do you handle interdependencies between projects?
There's not a lot. So to be honest, there's not a lot of interdependencies, and that's where that mesh opportunity is still an opportunity around things. We do have a core like utility-based repo that has a common function, common macros around it, very similar to DBT utils. Is kind of how we modeled that repo. So that allows the teams to import into the commonly used stuff around it, whether it's pulling a placement ID from a regex or whatever that is. That's very, very business focused versus like generic database stuff. But there's not a lot of interdependency on packages, on package management, and each of the customer teams are allowed to manage those dependencies however they see fit.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Well, thank you all for coming today. Enjoy the day.